They had nothing left, no food, no money, and a broken old house that was falling apart. One rainy night when he was fixing the floor, something unexpected happened. He tapped a tile and heard a strange sound. What he found beneath changed their lives forever. But it wasn't just gold that they discovered. It was a secret that tested their courage, their love, and their strength. Stay with me to hear the full story of how a poor man and his wife found a hidden treasure that nobody expected, and how it changed everything. It had been raining for hours. There was no sign of the storm stopping, and the sound of water dripping from the broken ceiling had filled the room like a haunting lullaby. In one corner of the small cracked house, his wife sat, wrapped in a thin blanket, shivering from the cold. She hadn't eaten all day. Neither had he. They were not just hungry. They were defeated. The man sat on an old wooden cot that creaked every time he moved. His hands trembled, not from the cold, but from the weight of helplessness. Still, in his eyes, a tiny spark of hope refused to die. He looked at his wife and whispered, "Just a little longer, things will get better." She smiled back, but her eyes said she didn't believe him. Not anymore. There was no bread, no milk, not even a cup of tea. Only silence, sadness, and the sound of hunger echoing inside their stomachs. His name was Wasim. He had once worked as a laborer in the city, but the jobs had dried up. For the past week, he had returned home every evening with empty pockets and a heavy heart. The floor of their house was cracked and uneven. Some of the old tiles had broken loose over time, and sharp edges had started poking through the surface. His wife had asked him many times to fix the floor, but every time he had said the same thing: "How can I, when we don't even have enough money for food?" But that day, something changed. The rain was relentless, and water was seeping into the room through the floor. He could no longer ignore it, so he picked up an old rusted hammer and began removing the loose tiles near the corner of the room. One by one, the tiles came off, revealing the wet, dusty ground beneath. Then, suddenly, he heard a strange sound. Not the sound of stone or cement. It was a sharp, metallic clink. He paused, tapped again. The same sound. He dug a little deeper, with his hands brushing away the dirt. And there it was, a rusty old box buried just beneath the tiles, covered in years of dust and grime. He called his wife over. She rushed to his side as he pulled the box out. They both stared at it for a moment. He opened it with shaking fingers. Inside there were a few old papers. Wrapped in a faded red cloth was something heavy. He slowly unwrapped it and froze. It was gold. Raw, solid pieces of gold. Old coins, jewelry, and a pocket watch from what looked like the British era. His wife covered her mouth with her hand in disbelief. At the bottom of the box there was a small note. It read, "To the one who finds this treasure, this gold belongs to you. But remember, the true treasure is not this gold. It is the strength that brought you here, the courage that never gave up, and the love that kept you going." Tears filled their eyes. He looked at his wife, and she looked back at him. Neither said a word. They didn't cry because of the gold. They cried because God had finally heard them. But this was just the beginning. What they had found was not just a treasure. It was a story buried for decades. A story that the world was about to hear. It felt like their lives were about to change forever, but the real challenge was just beginning. Word about the treasure spread quickly through the small village. Neighbors, who once ignored Wasim and his wife, now stared with disbelief and curiosity. Some offered help, others whispered doubts. The couple tried to keep their lives normal, but the secret was out. One morning, a young man arrived at their doorstep with a camera and a notebook. He introduced himself as a journalist named Adam, who wanted to tell their story to the world. Wasim hesitated, but his wife convinced him that maybe sharing their story could bring them support. The next day, a small crowd gathered outside their home. Reporters and villagers, all wanting a glimpse of the man who had found the hidden gold. For the first time in many years, Wasim felt proud, not because of the gold, but because of his courage. But with attention came pressure. People started asking questions about the past, about how the treasure got there, and why no one had claimed it before. Strangers showed up claiming to be relatives or experts on old treasures. Wasim's wife feared that the happiness they had found might slip away. She urged Wasim to be careful. One evening, while they were talking about their future, a knock came at the door. A tall man in a sharp suit introduced himself as a lawyer representing a wealthy family claiming ownership of the treasure. The couple was shocked. They had never imagined that their quiet life would become a battlefield for a fight they did not want. Wasim looked at his wife with determination in his eyes. "Whatever happens, we will face it together." She smiled and nodded. The treasure had brought them hope, but now it was testing their strength and love. And deep inside, Wasim knew this was only the beginning of a journey that would change their lives forever. The days that followed were filled with uncertainty, but Wasim and his wife faced everything with courage. The lawyer and the wealthy family fought hard, claiming the treasure belonged to them. Court hearings, media attention, and strangers asking questions became their new reality. But Wasim never lost hope. He remembered the note inside the box. "The true treasure is not this gold. It is the strength that brought you here. It is the courage that never gave up, and the love that kept you going." With every challenge, their bond grew stronger. Their small house no longer felt like a prison, but a place filled with dreams. One rainy evening, as Wasim was repairing the broken floor again, he noticed something strange. Underneath the wooden plank, a hidden drawer was revealed. Inside lay a bundle of old letters and maps. These letters told stories of sacrifice, love, and loss from the generations before him. The maps showed secret places nearby where more treasures and memories were hidden. It was as if fate was guiding them to not only find riches, but to discover their own history and strength. Wasim and his wife decided to share these stories with the world through books and videos. They used some of the gold to fix their home, help their neighbors, and start a small business. The village that once ignored them now respected and loved them. Their lives changed, but the true treasure was their journey together. From hungry nights to hopeful mornings, from broken floors to dreams restored. Their story became a beacon of hope for many, because sometimes the greatest treasures are hidden beneath the surface, waiting for those brave enough to uncover them. And as they sat together on their repaired floor, looking at the sunset, Wasim whispered to his wife, "We didn't just find gold. We found each other, and that is worth everything."